Inheritrix Productions. Sheroes and Zeros with the Moxie Sisters. Hey Moxie friends, Foxie and Roxie here at the top of the show. We just wanted to include a land acknowledgement here as we are celebrating Indigenous Heritage Month in the United States. We are recording from land originally inhabited by the Osage, now Cherokee land, post-removal.
It's important to acknowledge this land that we, as white women, are privileged to be on. It is beautiful land, and it has an important history, and we are honored to even have our feet on this ground.
Hey y'all. And y'all go check out your own local history if you don't already know it. Well, hello, Roxie.
Hello, Foxie.
Hi, Moxie friends. We're back.
Yes, it's been a bit. Yes. We're glad to be back.
Yes, it's going to be a great day here on the show. We've got some big stuff for you coming your way, but how are you doing today?
Well, it needs to rain really hard so that my head doesn't feel like it's going to pop like a balloon under the pressure of the atmospheric happenings that are happening here. Yeah, like for real. My sinuses are just like, oh my god, what is happening?
Not a great sensation.
Seasonal allergies, kids.
Mm-hmm, same here.
But, I mean, I'm in a great mood, and I'm glad to be here. It's a good day.
Yeah, it's a really good day. The weather's pretty, and the sun is shining, and the autumn leaves are beautiful. It's really it's a gorgeous time of year where we are.
I have to be careful when I'm driving.
Same. I get, lost in the color and the glory, and I'm about to,
wait a second.
Hang on, this is a very curvy road. I need to pay attention.
We're driving here.
We are driving. Okay, well, kids, we are going to be diving into some fabulous subject matter here in a mo, but first we have previously on, and I was asking Roxie if she had anything, and she said no, so I'm going to carry on with mine.
Strainer brain.
It's all good. So, last time we discussed familiars on our Witch's Herstory special, and I meant to mention something about cats that maybe not all of our Moxie friends know. This is from Scientific American, quote, "Cats purr during both inhalation and exhalation with a consistent pattern and frequency between 25 and 150 hertz. Various investigators have shown that sound frequencies in this range can improve bone density and promote healing," end quote. So to me, this is magic. And so the next time your little furry baby is purring on you, you can thank them for also healing you.
I read that. I came across that on the internet. Yeah. I don't know, which is a big thing. It's
cat science.
Like I could narrow it down, but I can't remember what the source was.
I had to look it up, but I was I know there's science behind this.
But I remembered that, and so when my little familiar gets on a specific part of my body, be it a leg, belly, whatever, and she starts purring, I'm like, thank you.
Yeah. I'm working on doing some cat magic.
You probably know something I don't know.
There you go. It's a little science moment, Moxie friends. But yeah, we've got a couple of shout outs. I've actually got kind of a lengthy one, but we also have decided to do a sister duo shout out. This shout out goes to Evian Whitney. She is a sexuality doula, writer, facilitator, and sensualist. And she's amazing, and we both really resonated with this piece of hers the other day. So we're going to co-read it to each other. Well, yes, to each other.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to co-read it together. And
all of you.
To all of you as well. So please go and check her out. Again, it's Evian Whitney. You can find her website. She's awesome. So, to begin, there she is, the too much woman. The one who loves too hard, feels too deeply, asks too often, desires too much.
There she is, taking up too much space with her laughter, her curves, her honesty, her sexuality. Her presence is as tall as a tree, as wide as a mountain. Her energy occupies every crevice of the room. Too much space she takes.
There she is, causing a ruckus with her persistent wanting, too much wanting. She desires a lot, wants everything. Too much happiness, too much alone time, too much pleasure. She'll go through brimstone, murky river, and hellfire to get it. She'll risk all to quell the longings of her heart and body. This makes her dangerous.
She is dangerous. And there she goes, that too much woman, making people think too much, feel too much, swoon too much. She with her authentic prose and a self-assuredness in the way she carries herself. She with her belly laughs and her insatiable appetite and her proneness to fiery passion. All eyes on her, thinking she's hot shit.
Oh, that too much woman. Too loud, too vibrant, too honest, too emotional, too smart, too intense, too pretty, too difficult, too sensitive, too wild, too intimidating, too successful, too fat, too strong, too political, too joyous, too needy, too much.
She should simmer down a bit, be taken down a couple of notches. Someone should put her back in a more respectable place. Someone should tell her.
Here I am, the too much woman, with my too tender heart and my too much emotions.
A hedonist, feminist, pleasure seeker, empath. I want a lot. Justice, sincerity, spaciousness, ease, intimacy, actualization, respect, to be seen, to be understood, your undivided attention, and all of your promises to be kept.
I've been called high maintenance because I want what I want, and intimidating because of the space I occupy. I've been called selfish because I am self-loving. I've been called a witch because I know how to heal myself.
And still, I rise. Still, I want and feel and ask and risk and take up space. I must.
Us too much women have been facing extermination for centuries. We are so afraid of her, terrified of her big presence, of the way she commands respect and wields the truth of her feelings. We've been trying to stifle the too much woman for eons, in our sisters, in our wives, in our daughters. And even now, even today, we shame the too much woman for her bigness, for her wanting, for her passionate nature.
And still, she thrives. In my own world and before my very eyes, I am witnessing the reclamation and rising up of the too much woman. That too much woman is also known to some as the wild woman or the divine feminine. In any case, she is me, she is you, and she is loving that she's finally getting some airtime.
If you've ever been called too much, or overly emotional, or bitchy, or stuck up, you are likely a too much woman.
And if you are, I implore you to embrace all that you are, all of your depth, all of your vastness, to not hold yourself in and to never abandon yourself, your bigness, your radiance.
Forget everything you've heard. Your too muchness is a gift. Oh yes, one that can heal, incite, liberate, and cut straight to the heart of things.
Do not be afraid of this gift, and let no one shy you away from it. Your too muchness is magic, is medicine. It can change the world.
So please, too much woman, ask, seek, desire, expand, move, feel, be.
Make your waves, fan your flames, give us chills.
Please rise. We need you.
Damn, man.
I don't think we
felt
knew
all
what
the
we were
pain of
getting
women
into.
for all the ages of everything
Oh
that's
my
ever
God.
happened, and it was so hard.
Yes, that was cathartic.
God,
and,
women have been treated like shit.
It's just too...
Why?
That's fucking too much. That's enough.
Whew. Damn.
Oh, anyway, friends, there you go. Please go and check out Evan Whitney. Incredible artist, and thank you to her for that incredible piece of writing that really just names so many things that we need to have named. And so, we will move on with our next shout out, which is a very important one today, and this is regarding sheroes and heroes doing the good work to confront and solve a sad and terrible phenomenon which has come to be abbreviated MMIW. And if you don't know what that acronym means, it stands for Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women. In the United States, Indigenous women are 10 times more likely to be murdered than the national average. Murder is the third leading cause of death for Indigenous women in the United States. The youngest known victim of this epidemic was a baby, and the eldest was 83. This epidemic, and it is an epidemic, is taking place in many locations in the U.S., Canada, and Mexico. And in fact, we will hear more about this topic in our upcoming episode after this one. For now, I want to call attention to this and to shout out those working hard to rectify this. One excellent resource is the 3rd season of Payne Lindsay's Up and Banished podcast, where he is covering the case of missing Blackfeet Nation woman named Ashley Loring Heavyrunner. He is using his platform and power for good, and I want to shout him and his team out for that. I also want to shout out Desi Lone Bear Rodriguez, who is from the Northern Cheyenne Nation and Chicana, and who is a doctorate and assistant professor of sociology and American Indian Studies at UCLA. Her website says, quote, Desi's research examines the intersection of race, indigeneity, data, and inequality, end quote. And she's one of the people that Payne Lindsay talks to, so if you're a true crime nerd and also want to learn more about MMIW issues, I highly recommend getting into the Up and Vanished Season 3. The symbol of the MMIW movement is a red hand over the mouth of a woman. It is very powerful and speaks volumes without saying a word. To learn more and to get involved, you can visit the website mmiwusa.org. Their motto is, quote, threaten our existence, expect our resistance.
Boom.
Mm-hmm. And if you're really fired up, you can call them at 503-891-0040 or email mmiwusa@gmail.com. They have a beautiful quote from Black Elk on the website. We are not truly dead until the hearts of our women are on the ground. Mm. That being said, I think it will be a cold day in hell before Indigenous women will lay down their hearts or be defeated because they are strong, resilient, and powerful. Previously, we have talked about Wilma Mankiller, a badass chief and war woman who changed things for her people for the good and for good, and whose work has been continually built upon since her passing. Also, we talked about artist, musician, and magical poet Joy Harjo, first Indigenous Poet Laureate of the U.S., and her amazing voice and power. And today we are adding another warrior woman in Shiro Supreme to our catalog of inspiring feminists. Writer, activist, teacher, brilliant mind, and woman you should absolutely know, Dr. LANADA WAR JACK.
I see lots of hands clapping.
Yes.
Yes.
Massive applause. We're going to get massively inspired, and it doesn't have a sad ending, so yay!
Yay! Good.
Okay. Thank you to my sources for this biography. Good old trusty Wikipedia, nrdc.org, a Teen Vogue article, and I am telling y'all, it is a great place to be over there at Teen Vogue. Go check it out. This article by Delilah Friedler. The podcast That Broad's Got Moxie with Kiana and Cassie, their episode Literally Changing How You See, which I think their format is really cool because they're kind of doing what we're doing, but it's just like all sheroes. There's no zeros. They're just like celebrating amazing women and telling each other about them. So go check out their podcast,
well, that's
Moxie Friends.
More upbeat.
Yeah.
But I like shining a light on the dark ones, so we know how not to be.
And we'll get to that later. And kids, it's going to be so cathartic and fun. But anyway, YouTube, the AsiaBookCenter.com, the Red Nations podcasts interview with LANADA WAR JACK, which I highly recommend, and drwarjack.com.
That's awesome.
Yes. All right, so our Shiro was born LANADA Vernay Boyer in 1947 on the Fort Hall Indian Reservation in Idaho to Olive May and Edward Queep Boyer. Her mother, Olive, was a World War II vet and had worked as a welder in the Vancouver shipyard before returning to the reservation. Her father was also a veteran serving in the U.S. Navy in Vancouver and would go on to chair the Shoshone-Bannock tribes of Idaho, and in the mid-70s he founded the Shoshone-Bannock Legal Research Project to continue the cultural and civic protections of Native peoples. LANADA is descended on her mother's side from the Bannock chief Ta-Gi and on her father's side from the war chief Ta-Mon-Ma. LANADA, like many of those of her generation, was sent into the American Indian boarding school system, which caused so much devastation and trauma to so many.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
That old fucking piece of shit again. Yeah.
LANADA says, quote, children were beaten for speaking their native language, practicing their cultures, and following their own religions. It was their way of getting rid of the, quote, Indian problem.
Oh, my God. How can you fucking...
So yeah, if y'all don't know about the Indian boarding school system in the U.S. and Canada, you should give that a quick goog. It's been in the news lately, especially in Canada, where they found, I don't know, dozens of bodies buried on one of the school sites.
I thought the last count was 216,000 children that had died under their care. I need to fact check that, but it was an astronomical number, and it was
appalling.
Disgusting.
Yeah, it's appalling.
One is disgusting.
Yeah. No, it's a whole other, can of worms, but please, friends, educate yourself. Okay, so back to our Shiro. LANADA was a good student, but was often in trouble for speaking out against the institutional environment and its cruelties. In 1965, at age 18, she moved to San Francisco in search of work through the U.S. government relocation program. This was another hideous assault on indigenous culture by the U.S. government, a program that encouraged Native peoples to leave their homeland and go to an urban area and assimilate. Basically, they would give them just enough money to get where they were going and maybe set up in a cheap place, and then fuck you, good luck to you, goodbye. See, Uncle Sam wanted to decrease the subsidies to reservations, so if they could get the young people to leave in search of work, those populations would go down.
Greedy fuckers, always.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, LANADA gets to California in 65. She marries a man named Theodore Means, and they had 2 children. One was a son for sure. I could not find all the details on LANADA's kids, so, but we know about the one son, and they had 2 kids together. Then they divorced in 1967. Not one to let that knock her down. Now 20 years old and with 2 babies, LANADA enrolled at UC Berkeley after being the first Native American student accepted there.
What the hell?
Mm-hmm. Almost immediately, LANADA got active, creating the Native American Student Organization and becoming its chair.
Damn, yeah.
You're going to love this, Lady Roxie. Okay, so in January of 1969, LANADA became involved in the Third World Strike, another historical moment that everyone should learn more about. I'm just giving you a very brief on this. But basically, the strike demanded that the university include histories of communities of color in the curricula, and that these classes were to be taught by people of color. Duh! But also, 1969. This strike united the student groups from the African American Student Union, the Asian American Political Alliance, and the Mexican American Student Conference. Because it was the 60s, and so it was rare to see women in positions of leadership, even in so-called radical movements, LANADA quickly became a symbol for indigenous feminism. The strike took 3 months, but the students, led by LANADA, were successful in getting the university to agree to launch its first ethnic studies department.
Good for her.
Go LANADA and friends!
I mean, fighting against academia is its own thing, and I have been there and done a little of it myself, and it didn't go very well. Yeah. LANADA persisted and had people that were like, yeah, this is fucked off. We got to change this shit. Let's do it now.
This is fucking badass, and she's like 22 years old at this point. Yeah,
she's amazing.
Okay,
I'm already a huge fan.
Same. Okay, so we need a little backstory before we get into more of her badassery, and we're going to encounter some bonus Shiros. And quick sidebar, Moxie friends, if you hear snoring in the background, it's Cher. She really wanted to be in the studio for the recording. I could not get her to leave, so she's just snoozing and giving us some moral support. Anyway, that's the weird sound effect in case you
Cher had a late night at the disco, so she's tuckered out.
Cher's having a rest. Anyway, okay, so backstory. In 1963, this is so cool. Belva Cotier, I think I'm saying that right. It might be Cotier. Anyway, Belva Cotier, a Rosebud, Lakota social worker living in the Bay Area, read that the Alcatraz Federal Penitentiary was to be closed and the property handed over to the city of San Francisco. But, being brilliant, Belva remembered the 1868 Treaty of Fort Laramie, which stated that if property were surplus land of the government, the Lakota could claim it. She and her cousin went and found a copy of this treaty, and she planned and organized a small demonstration on March 8th of that year, 63. A group of about 40 went out to Alcatraz Island and occupied it. They publicly offered the government to pay what the government had initially offered them for this land, about 47 cents per acre, or $9 for the whole island. Ha ha ha.
Good.
This group went on to propose building a cultural center on the island. So, since this initial protest and negotiation with the government, everyone had been waiting. And what happened? In 1969, the fucking city supervisors granted approval for a billionaire developer to use the land for commercial purposes. No fucking way. So, On November 9th of 1969, LANADA, along with Richard Oakes and 12 other UC Berkeley students, went to Alcatraz to check it out. They went home the following day. At the time, there were these older dudes running things in what was called the United Council of the Bay Area, which was like the tribal groups that were working towards, indigenous issues and things.
Okay.
Some of those guys had been part of the occupation in 1963.
Well, and this is the occupation that inspired Wilma. It's interesting how things...
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
These ladies. Okay,
Yeah.
so... LANADA...
I think that's right.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Is. Okay.
LANADA, being the brilliant woman that she is, encouraged her fellow students and collaborators to wait until the leadership was out of town. They were going to this, educational something.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. She's like, we'll wait till they leave and then we'll go occupy the island. And they would call this group Indians of All Tribes, or IOAT.
That's cool.
Mm-hmm. LANADA brought her 2-year-old son, Danon, with her, and she was one of the only ones who would remain throughout the entire occupation. She wrote a grant proposal for $300,000 to create a cultural and university facility on the island. She wanted it to include Native American Studies, an American Indian Spiritual Center, an Ecology Center, and an American Indian Museum, and would include full-time Native consultants, teachers, librarians, and staff in order to tell the story of Indians of all tribes.
Wow, that's
fucking
an
cool,
amazing
right?
Thing, yeah.
Can you imagine?
Oh, man. That's like going back in time and scooping up as much of what's been stolen from you and just reclaiming it and putting healing around it.
Yeah, and they were trying to do this in 1969.
Fucking
so
badass.
Throughout, LANADA was key in the leadership of the occupation, which at its height included more than 400 people on Alcatraz. Everyone, by the way, was unarmed. Women like Aranyado, Woisha Cloud North, and Vicky Santana ran a school for the children. Jenny Jo and Dorothy Lone Wolf Miller worked as nurses. There were also 2 men who were doctors on staff. Aranyado, Luanda Quitiquit ran the kitchen. And while both native and non-native people were doing their best to keep the island supplied with essentials, the Coast Guard had set up a blockade to try to cut them off. I'm flipping off the Coast Guard of the past, by the way, since you can't see, and it's ridiculous. Okay, so all told, the occupation lasted from November 20th of 1969 to June 11th, 1971, over a year and a half.
That's fucking great.
Mm-hmm. And while there were men functioning as, quote, spokespeople and counsel, it was LANADA keeping it all going, along with the other women. Fellow activist Dean Chavers said that LANADA was, quote, the real leadership of the occupation.
Mm-hmm.
So let the record show.
Yep.
LANADA says in the interview in Teen Vogue, quote, we wanted to bring to the forefront that every single one of more than 500 treaties were broken by the federal government. We were going through the termination era when the states imposed taxes and would eventually take over our land. At the same time, they were practicing sterilization on women through the Indian Health Service. God. End quote.
I just...
This very visible protest raised the voices of Native Americans in that era, drawing attention to the iniquity that has persisted and sadly continues to this day. LANADA talks in the interview I listened to about how, for these students, the people of her generation, that for them to identify as indigenous, as Native American, was a big deal because the system had worked so hard to rob them of that. And so when these kids were embracing their heritage, they didn't quite know where to start. And they each had to kind of go back to their heritage and try to figure out what that meant for them. And so the reclaiming of Native American identity was a very big deal. She says, quote, we are the children and grandchildren of the ones who got away.
You know, the treaties part is really disturbing, and in college I did cultural anthropology classes and took a bunch of them on studying what our charming government had done to these people, and just even on a test having to put back on paper the number of fucking treaties that had been made and broken was just staggering. No fucking worth to anything.
No.
Whitey.
I think that's what the term Indian giver means. It means we're going to give you something and we're going to fucking take it back.
I was thinking about that term the other day because I knew we were going to do this today. And remembering that we used to say that when we were kids even. And that it meant, yeah, you're being a fucking asshole.
Yeah.
You're being a white, lying piece of shit asshole.
Yeah. You're being a fucking patriarchy giver.
Yeah, that's right.
Ugh. Anyway, other movements, the good news about this is that other movements grew out of this occupation. The, quote, Trail of Broken Treaties, a cross-country caravan in 1972, starting on the West Coast and ending at the Department of the Interior headquarters in Washington, D.C., which included 700 activists from more than 200 tribes and 25 states. There was the occupation of the BIA, or Bureau of Indian Affairs, also in 72, which LANADA was also a part of.
Oh, okay. Now yeah, okay, that's cool.
The Wounded Knee occupation in 1973, and the Longest Walk in 1978, led by the American Indian Movement. It was a walk across the country to support tribal sovereignty and to bring attention to problematic treaties, and began with a ceremony on Alcatraz. The sacred pipe used in that ceremony was carried the entire 3,200 miles to the U.S. Capitol.
Oh, that just makes my heart so happy, and it's like really powerful.
These people were doing some beautiful, amazing things.
Yes, they were.
And now I have a shocker for you, Roxy. Dead Pres Dickie Nixon is going to get a bit of a shout out here.
Really?
This is maybe the most shocking thing about this story to me.
Well, no, I like that. To hear that somebody that's a complete bastard has a good moment.
Mm-hmm. Well, we have one here. It's refreshing, I have to say. Refreshing. Okay. So LANADA says, quote, Nixon stopped the termination laws and implemented the 1975 Indian Self-Determination and Education Assistance Act so we could run our own programs on the reservations. He implemented a lot of important legislation and doubled and tripled the funding. The first and only president that did that, end quote.
Well, fucking props to Richard Nixon.
Props to Nixie. And also, what? Fuck you, Clinton. Fuck you, Obama. Fuck you, Uncle Joe and Aunt Kamala while we're at it. And I have no respect for any of that.
Damn.
Anyway,
yeah.
Nixon fucking outshone all of you in terms of making things even a little less fucked for indigenous people. So, like, do better. Nixon's a low bar.
Also, I need to kind of go back and look at Nixon again, I feel like.
Well,
maybe
I still have beef with Nixon over a lot of things, but not this.
Yeah.
I will give him credit where it's due.
Yeah, it's fair, yeah.
Now, after the occupation of Alcatraz, and I feel it is a very important story, which is why I spent some time on it, we'll go back to LANADA's life story. She finished with her degree in 1971, graduating with honors in Native American law and politics. She co-founded the Native American Rights Fund and went on to serve on the board for 10 years. Relocating to Washington, D.C., LANADA went to law school at the Antioch School of Law. When she finished in 1974, she returned to the Shoshone-Bannock Reservation and ran for tribal council. Though she didn't win that time, she did 2 years later and served on that council from 1976 to 78.
Good for her.
Mm-hmm. In 1979, she married Alvin Ray James, a member of the Paiute Nation. They had at least one daughter together, though again, I'm cloudy on the details around LANADA's kids, which is kind of great. Like, none of my business, really. None of any of our businesses, but we'll mention the daughter again in a minute. Anyway, they moved to Nevada and operated a ranch using permaculture for their organic garden, and LANADA earned a certificate in permaculture design in 1985.
What's permaculture?
Well, it's like this system of organic gardening where you build these kind of beds that are very nutrient rich, and you keep enriching those beds, and you get it to the point where you don't have to do like weeding and stuff because you've strategically planted and nourished everything. It just is self-sustaining after a while. It's a whole like theory and system. It's very cool.
Things I probably should have learned about, but you know, I
Yeah.
have issues with the insect kingdom. So.
Well, yes, you're not a garden witch, and that's okay. No one's holding it against you.
That's what my human
But
partner
LANADA
tells me
is,
too.
apparently.
She
She's a
is.
permaculture witch. I love it.
That's awesome.
So, in 1990, LANADA and Alvin split up, and she returned to Idaho and enrolled in a master's program at Idaho State and got her degree in public administration. In 1999, she graduated with a PhD in political science, becoming the first member of her tribe to earn a doctorate.
Wow.
And it was at this point that she stopped using either her maiden or married surnames, Boyer, Means, or James, and instead used her tribal name, War Jack. Bam!
Boom.
Yes, we love it. She has continued her work and her activism, including the Standing Rock protest of 2016. And by the way, in a stunning defeat, the Dakota Access Pipeline, which threatened water supplies for the Standing Rock Lakota and Cheyenne River Lakota tribes, was shut down in August of 2020. And so a massive Moxie shout out to all of the Sheroes and Heroes and Theyros who put their bodies on the line to protect the water. We applaud and thank you.
Yeah. God, yeah. That we're even still having to convince people that clean water is like...
Is important.
Hello.
Worth preserving. I don't know, not a... Anyway.
Don't
get me started. I've been mad about this since I was 10 years old.
It's insanity.
Anyway, okay. Yeah. So, LANADA founded the nonprofit organization, the Atzlana Foundation, that's Atzlana, I hope I'm pronouncing it relatively well, which focuses on protecting indigenous rights to air, land, fishing, and water. She is a distinguished professor at Boise State University and teaches native law and governance courses. She published a book in 2019 called Native Resistance, an Intergenerational Fight for Survival and Life. LANADA's old friend and colleague, remember him, Dr. Dean Shavers now, who, was her colleague back in, student in the early 70s with her. He's the author of Racism in Indian Country, as well as 20 other books. He says in praise of her book, LANADA was the first Indian student at UC Berkeley in 1968 and has been our leader for 50 years, while maintaining the purity of her beliefs all the way through. She is also one of the first Native people to earn a doctoral degree. LANADA was the leader of the Indian occupation of Alcatraz Island in 1969, which led to the most earth-shaking changes in Indian country during my lifetime. The return of the Blue Lake to the Pueblo of Taos, the return of Mount Adams to the Yakima tribe, the return of sacred lands to the Pitt River tribe, and many more such actions were the direct result of her leadership. It makes me cry.
I know. I could actually, see the different pieces of, parts of the land, because I've seen some of that stuff, and it's like, she did that.
Yeah.
It's fucking amazing.
And notably...
I want to go learn from her.
We should go
I want to take a class from her. Maybe a lot of classes.
I know, right? Also, notably, her daughter, Jessica James, is the youth manager of the Shoshone-Bannock tribes. I thought that was cool.
I like the name, too. Jessica James.
Mm-hmm. And so, for your incredible mountain-moving moxie, your brilliant mind and leadership, and your radical work on behalf of all Native people, especially women, that you have done and continue to do, we celebrate you and hold you in our Hall of Honor here at Sheroes and Zeros, Dr. LANADA WAR JACK. Applause.
Massive applause. My God.
Right?
Everyone should fucking know LANADA WAR JACK's name. I didn't know LANADA WAR JACK's name until we decided that we were gonna, take the month of November and do the right thing with it. The right thing, you know, which is to draw attention to what's happening to Native women in this country still. I mean, we're still here. We're still here.
Yeah, it's a...
But... Yes, LANADA WAR JACK, and
That's
I love
right.
your fucking name, and I love you, and yes to all of that.
Yes.
And I want to be part of it, and yes.
Exactly. I thought, she's an incredible woman. We should all know who she is, and the work that she's done has changed things.
Tell her story. Say her name. You know, that's
and listen,
the one way of helping.
There's lots of stuff on YouTube. Like I said, the Red Nation podcast, that's a really great talk. You can hear LANADA talking in her own words about the Alcatraz stuff and other things, and she's an incredibly cool, brilliant, she's grounded and just, I don't know. She's an amazing lady, so it's an honor to get to share her story today. And I have one beautiful quote from her for the end after we do our trip down to Zero Town.
Oh, I don't want to go there. I like LANADA. I want to stay with LANADA.
We can just stay in the glory of LANADA's
I'm a huge fan. I'm not a huge fan of this asshole.
Oh no, we're anti-fans of this asshole.
That is correct. In fact, I might need to.
We can take a break. We had to take a little breather after all of that, and now we are back, and I can't wait. We're going down to Zero Town in a big, lame, pasty way.
Very big, lame, pasty way. Oh, today, friends, we're going to be talking about the vanilla, bougie, award-winning shit show that is Gwyneth Paltrow.
Boo! Boo! Rubbish! Boo!
Boo.
Boo. Sources are GOOP.com, biography.com, usweekly.com, thelist.com, and the very fitting cheatsheet.com. Let's get into, I'm going to call her Gwenny P. Little Gwenny P.
Little Gwenny P.
is the daughter of Tony Award-winning actress Blythe Danner and television producer Bruce Paltrow. Having been born with money and connections meant Gwenny P didn't have to try very hard at much of anything, especially being a decent human being. And if you think that sounds harsh, Moxie peeps, please allow me to finish. Gwenny starred in a number of films before winning an Oscar for Best Actress for her role in Shakespeare in Love in 1999. Yes, I'm jumping ahead in her life because I don't really care. An Oscar that is questionable, but we'll come back to that. Gwenny is not only an actress, she's also a creator of a tacky company called GOOP.
Goop.
A lifestyle brand.
My lifestyle's goopy.
I've got goop coming out of my
she couldn't have picked a more accurate name. It's weirdly honest. It's just goop.
It's just goop. You know, you put it in your hair and it makes it stiff and weird. I mean, I don't get it, but whatever. Moxies, if you want to know just how delusional and out of touch this bourgeoisie asshat is, go to the Goop website. I implore you. Gwenny sells and or recommends very, unless you're wealthy like her, expensive products. And quite useless on top of that. And I feel like it's worth when you start looking at it and, you know, click on something and look at the price and all of that, it's worth the WTF, eye roll, laugh, like cackle, because that's insane, and then gag.
Then, yeah, go buy shit on Etsy.
Exactly. Boom. Yes, so definitely go to goop.com. Who even wants to say that?
Goop.
Goop.
She is a goop.
Yeah, she is. But don't take our word for it. Take Gwenny's. I'm going to share just a sample of the vapid statements Gwenny's been serving all of us over the years, and then we will get to the biggest reason Ms. Gwenny P is a Z, as in zero. But back to the sample platter.
Yes, please. Serve it up.
Here we go. First item. Appetizers. Gwenny said, and I quote, "I'd rather smoke crack than eat cheese from a tin. You know, crack might be extreme, but spray cheese is not my kind of party." Oh, Gwenny, I beg to differ. She also said, "I am who I am. I can't pretend to be somebody who makes $25,000 a year." This, Moxie friends, is simply code for Gwenny can't imagine being something so ordinary in this world as, I don't know what do you call it? Poor?
Oh, yeah, a poor. She can never pretend to be a poor. And yet, am I wrong? Isn't she a professional actress?
Yeah, well, I don't know. Allegedly?
Allegedly.
Yeah.
High air quotes around professional. But more on that in a moment.
Well, here's another tasty dish. It tastes less, really. Beauty fades. I just turned 29, so I probably don't have that many good years left in me.
Girl, you didn't have that many good years to begin with, because you're trash mayonnaise, but okay. Wow. Self-hating, ageist twat.
I mean, right. Exactly.
Cool. Well,
yeah.
She's just, how can people even tolerate looking at her now? She's got to be like, 40?
She's 48, as a matter of fact.
Does she admit to that?
Oh, yes.
I wonder.
Wait, we'll get to that in a second, though.
She's putting goop on her face, so it'll be fine.
Yeah, we'll get to something else that she did and said that, gets to the 48. But here's the dessert round. I would rather die than let my kid eat cup of soup. So we're back to the, oh my God, I could so not be a peasant bullshit.
She sounds like Marie Antoinette.
Yeah.
But not.
Only she's not her.
Only she's not.
Yeah.
She's a basic white bitch from California. Okay, Gwynny.
Okay. I'm not going to quote this because it's so fucking reckless, but you all may easily find it. It seems Gwynny P feels like she's not thin enough, and she has blamed her weight gain on getting COVID-19. And yes, the receipts are there.
Okay.
So...
Interesting.
What? Her weight gain on COVID? If you look at anything to do with it... What? Whatever.
Okay, yeah. It makes total sense, Gwynny.
Because this cardboard cutout of a real woman is so fucking basic and boring, I'll end with this quote from her. So you get another dessert. But do take my word for it, friends. This prince ass has said many more stupid and shallow things of zero worth and interest. Little Gwenny P gave us all a lesson on culture when she said, "I love the English way, which is not as capitalistic as it is in America. People don't talk about work and money. They talk about interesting things at dinner parties."
Oh my god. She thinks she lives in Downton Abbey. She thinks she's fucking Lady Bracknell or something. What even?
She played Emma in Jane, the Jane Austen
Yes,
Emma. It's like
yes.
she thinks she's
She
her.
never left.
She was never Emma because Emma, redeemed herself.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
I don't know, Gwen. You could become Emma if you, decide to turn it around today, and I'll give you credit if you do, if I'm going to give Richard Nixon any kind
if Dickie Nicky can pull it out at some point, maybe so can Gwenny Goop, but we'll fucking see.
Goop. Oh, that's the new one. So, yeah, all of this is a bit over the top, and Gwen's gooptastrophe is also disgusting, given that this woman clearly does not need more money. The stupidity and the greediness is not why I chose this fool.
Yeah.
Gwenny is not only a classist asshole, she is also a churd extraordinaire when it comes to the way she treats people, even so-called friends.
Mm-hmm.
Back in the 90s, Gwenny P and Winona Ryder were close friends and roommates. Winona was in talks to play the lead in Shakespeare in Love. You know, the movie that landed Gwenny an Oscar?
Uh-huh, that one.
Mm-hmm.
That really fucking big deal one. Remember the Oscar speech and the pink dress, and my friend said, "You need to eat a cheeseburger, bitch."
I agree with your friend.
Mm-hmm.
Gwenny stole the script from Ryder, used her connections, got an audition, the part, and the prize. But did she? Not really. Gwenny's talent and compassion are paper thin, while Ryder seems to be the real deal, a genuine person who was genuinely hurt by Gwendolyn's, I don't know, what the English might call treachery?
Backstabbery? Yeah. Betrayal? Shitbaggery?
Yes, all of those things.
Very, very unbecoming.
It's uncouth. She's extremely fucking tacky is
She's
what
a
she
thief.
is. She's a jerk. And, is she the worst person ever? No. And yes. Because here's the thing. Gwendolyn, and she's not really Gwendolyn, but yes, I can call her that if I want to because it's our show. Gwyneth could not be more different than our Shiro for today.
No.
She has money. She has power. She's always had these things, it appears to me, anyway.
Yep.
These are two things that you can use in this world to lift other people up, And women should always be doing that for everyone and for every creature, but especially for other women, given the shit show that we're living in.
Absolutely.
Empowered women empower women. That's the deal. Always. Empowered women don't body shame. They don't make snide remarks about aging. They don't sell stupid and expensive bullshit to make more money than they will ever need. And they don't sell their soul for a part in a movie.
Especially knowing with those connections and that power, the next movie could have been her. Any number of other great opportunities could have and would have come her way.
She was hot shit at that point. Everybody wanted to hire her. They wanted her for Titanic.
Instead,
they wanted her for all kinds of
She fucking steals an opportunity from her quote best friend. And that's the thing. She's the kind of bitch that doesn't have real friends because she can't be a real friend to anyone. Ugh, she makes me sick.
Yeah,
Anyway.
I mean, LANADA is a friend to the world, and
Yeah.
and that is what a shiro is, and that's why we always show you both sides of it, because it's important to look at both sides of it. I don't care if you don't have money and power, you still have power, whether you know you do or not, and you can use it to do good things.
Absolutely.
To pay it forward, or however you want to phrase that. So, this is why I chose Gwyneth Paltrow. She bears all the hallmarks of the white heteronormative patriarchy, and this is why she just landed a mansion in Zeroville.
Boo! Boo! Rubbish! Filth! Slime! Muck! Boo! Boo! Boo!
Oh, and Gwenny, I have 2 words for you. Just 2. Winona forever.
I want to do standing ovation for Winona forever, and then big fat boos for Gwynny P for patriarchy.
I like Gwenny Goop.
Well, I was thinking, are those her initials? Gwyneth Olivia Octavia Paltrow. And that's her initials. They're Goop. I don't know what her middle names are, if she even has any, but
That makes it even better.
that's her initials.
Yeah.
She is Goop. Oh, she's
Do better.
gross.
Do better.
You
Yeah,
little
we're calling you out on your
wretch.
bullshit.
For sure. Well, now that we've taken Miss Goopy Pants to task, let's return to our shiro for a little closing thought before we go to our recommendation station. So, I will leave us with these brilliant words from LANADA WAR JACK. When asked about matriarchy, she says this, quote, "That's just living within the natural law, and the natural law is balance. It's the male and the female, not like the patriarch, which is made up and is male. Matriarch is a concept that all indigenous people worldwide practiced at one time until they were corrupted. Even though the men won't recognize it, they're going through that colonization process and they have to be woken up. We have to acknowledge what's happening in terms of the murdered and missing indigenous women. It's because of the patriarchy and how the men look down upon us. We represent Mother Earth, and the way we get treated is the way that society treats the Earth." End quote.
On that too. I've been thinking, oh God, yes.
She just tied it all together.
Everything. And she's absolutely right. I was thinking about this the other day, and I mentioned it yesterday to a woman that I talk to from time to time. That sounds weird. It's not weird, friends. I'm weird.
It's her imaginary friend. Don't tell her.
Anyway,
Just
I was
kidding.
saying, you know, like, exactly what LANADA's saying. And so I was thinking about how I'd watched this video of a bulldozer digging up trees so this jackass could build a swimming pool. And I guess I shouldn't hate somebody for wanting to build a swimming pool, but I kind of do, a little bit, because they're like taking all these trees out, and like you can see their roots, and you know, it's a sentient being, and like
Yeah.
it's like our veins,
It's a killing, yeah.
it's gross. And I was like, the reason it's not valued is because it is tied to women, obviously. And until women are valued, this is going to continue to be a shit show.
Because patriarchy is rape culture,
Yes.
and that extends to how we treat the planet, and how
Everything.
we treat animals, and how we treat children, and how we treat women, and how we treat everything. So, I'm here for the LANADAs, y'all, Moxie friends.
Yes.
Don't be a goop, be a LANADA War Jack.
That might be a title.
Okay, well, let's wrap up with some recommendations. Do you have any? For today?
I did before
Before I asked you?
Before you asked me. I'll just sit and stew on that for just a
Yeah,
second.
you think about it. I have
Stew
a
in
few.
good
I have a
way.
couple.
I like stew.
It's stew
like stew
season.
weather,
I
I
can't
know.
wait. It's on my list. I'm going to go get soup stuff later.
Yes.
If you have Netflix, you can watch an incredible and arguably, I think probably at this point, my now new favorite Western ever that I've seen, because I'm not a huge Western fan. Roxy and I have talked about this a lot. Part of it is that everything's brown and sad and dusty, and it's just kind of too much. But this one is called The Harder They Fall, which is written and directed by James Samuel and stars Jonathan Majors, Zazie Beetz, Idris Elba, Danielle Deadwyler, and the queen that is Regina King. And it's a great movie. I will say it's a little long, but it's worth it. And like the cinematography of it is just absolutely stunning. The use of color, the acting, the writing, all the great like Western moments that you want to see in a Western. So huge props to that whole creative team, and I highly recommend it. Even if you're not a Western fan, like I'd say it's worth
great Western
stepping out.
is a great Western, and what makes them great is because they're kind of rare. But yeah,
it's true.
I mean, when it's well done, it is fucking magic.
It's great, yeah. And then also, and I know this probably came out like a few years ago. Again, I've said often, like, Foxie's not always in the loop. I mean, it's like a little bit of a delay getting over to my brain sometimes. But anyway, I watched Tiffany Haddish's stand-up special, Black Mitzvah, and I'm going to make Roxy watch it with me later, but it had me just literally cry laughing and like, you know, when you just like have to like beat your leg or pound the bed because it's so funny, you can't stand it. Like, it's so good. And she's a fucking genius, and she's a super shero badass. Like, she has worked so hard to be where she is in her life, and I just like celebrate her. So like, one, it's an amazing, hilarious, beautiful comedy special, which you should totally watch, but also just like bonus shout out for Tiffany Haddish being a fucking queen. I live for her. Anything else? Did you think of anything?
No, I've not been spending as much time doing that, really.
Well, I have one more recommendation, which I know you've watched these, the Fenty Savage X fashion shows.
Oh my God.
They're on Amazon, or at least one of them is.
It's
Rihanna. Rihanna's going to get a highlight on the show at some point before too long. But we are both huge fans, and if you want to just be like super Moxie inspired by incredible magic, go and check that out. It's amazing. But yeah, that's all I have right now. I did want to say, y'all, we have an exciting update on this show, which is to tell you that we now have a YouTube channel. Yes. And so we're working on getting all of our season 2 podcasts up on there. It's taking a little learning curve, so that will be coming soon. But in the meantime, we have a few little kind of ad spot doodads we've done, some little silly videos. So it's Moxie, and then Sisters is spelled Sisterx. So you can easily find us on the YouTube. But we would love it if you would go check it out and hit subscribe. We'd like to get people over to the party, and we're going to hope to be making lots more content on that channel in the coming year. And but yeah, in the meantime, we'll be giving some Moxie Magic updates, and we'll have some other exciting news coming soon for the winter season.
Yes, that'll be fun. Also, y'all can find us on TikTok under Roxy and Foxy Moxie. So if you're not YouTubers and you're more into the TikTok, you can go there. Yeah. Same videos, just different vibe, whatever.
Yeah, whatever you're into. And we're on the Instagram, and we're on the Facebook, and we have a Gmail. You can send us a letter, an old school email letter, an electronic mail. But we would love to hear from all of y'all about
quills and get out your parchment paper.
Get your homing pigeons or whatever. I don't know. Anywho, we would love to hear from you in terms of we're going to be starting to plan our season 3 lineup for next year, and we would love to hear about what sheroes and or zeros you would like for us to cover. So send us an email or drop us a DM on the Facebook or the Insta. We will be looking for your beautiful messages. Oh, and if you would be so kind and you're on the Apple Podcasts or another podcatcher that has a rating and reviewing system, if you wouldn't mind just popping us a little 5-star moment and maybe saying a little blurb about why you like the show.
Yes. That would be great.
That would be great. We would love to get more people in the Moxie Circle. And so if you feel so inspired, please share these links or different ways to connect with any of your Moxie sister siblings out there that you think might jive with what we're doing over here. So.
Yeah, and especially if you all know more about some of these women that we've covered.
Absolutely.
Weigh in, share the info. We would love to know.
If we've gotten anything wrong, please tell us.
Oh, that too, yeah.
All the stuff.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, and we're going to be back in a couple of weeks with another new and exciting Shiro Zero combo for you, and I'm really looking forward to that one. And, and we'll be telling you more about our upcoming events and newses on that day.
That sounds good.
But anyway, Please keep enjoying and celebrating Indigenous Heritage Month by learning and educating yourselves, listening to Indigenous voices. I, again, want to shout out the Red Nation podcast. That's a great place to go look. But, check out Joy Harjo, check out Wilma Mankiller, check out LANADA WAR JACK, and then go from there. These ladies will inspire you, and these are stories that have been so actively hidden and downplayed and whitewashed over the years. They really need to be told. So
They do, and in their voices.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
we're just here to...
You can just put their names in. They'll come up on YouTube. You can find these ladies
you can
speaking
see
in
them,
their own voices.
Yeah, giving speeches and talking.
Yeah, it's great to see and hear. Yeah. Yep.
So spread the good word and take care of yourselves and own your own moxie.
Be a too much woman.
That's right.
A too much person.
That's right.
Unless you're white, cis, hetero male, and you might just back it up just a little bit.
Maybe just turn it down about 11 notches.
Yeah, turn it down and
just take a seat and
all.
let others speak. That would be great. Mm-hmm. We love you, all of you, everyone. Thank you for being with us, and until next time, Moxie's out.
I don't want to pull a Shatner. I gotta read this real fast in my head.
Yeah, no.
Fuck around. I don't want to do
worries.
that. Because sometimes a word will surprise me. I'll be like, that is not the right emotion for that word.
Oh, God. We're going to have to wait till that's over. Can you please lay down? Good dog.
What's funny is I don't even notice that that's the scary thing.
Well, that's not going to sound great on the podcast. Dog slurps water. Hello,
No, it's
Moxie
like...
friend. Various investigation... A sister shout out. Okay, let me say that again, because Cher's licking her paws and going to sleep. Okay, she'll be snoring soon, but for now... paw licking sound effects. Okay, okay, let me take a break. Let's take a break. That was a lot.
It was kind of a lot up at the top.
That was a big, heavy-duty opening
real
for our
heavy. Yeah.
first November show. Welcome to November. That means no, we're not having any more patriarchy. No, we will not be silenced. No, you can fuck right off. And no, you're not allowed to fucking murder Indigenous women without consequences.
And yes, we will take up every fucking bit of space to make sure that that does not happen.
Yes. All right. So.
And cut that if it didn't make sense.
No, I think everything will all make sense in the end. I hope.
I'm just so like, brr.
Yeah, I know. I need to come on back. The Alcatraz Federal Penitentiary. Let me just start that over.
It's not a fun word and I hate it.
No. A Rosebud, Lakota social worker living in the Bay Area read that the Alcatraz Federal Penitentiary, and Luenda Quit ran the kitchen. Relocating. That's the word that had to come out so I can get to the real one. Let me take a sip of it.
Hell, I know what it means.
Okay.
I mean, it kind of makes sense.
Well, it might make more sense. Relocating. I gotta relocate some shit.
I mean, you're reloading, and you are...
Yeah. You have to unload, reload. Yeah, okay. Anyway, yes.
Many loads.
So many loads.
Can
I
we
need a
take a
cigarette.
breather?
We're gonna take a little break, friends, and come back. I'm
gonna put my shoe vulgar that way.
Well, we just missed it. I haven't hit record yet. And there's Cher scratching at the door like, oh, are you recording?
Hey,
I gotta come back in.
I've got some stuff to say to the people.
Snorts and thoughts and snores.
Goop out. I took a goop 2 days ago. Don't put that in. Oh my god. Put in the outtakes. I don't know. Does it go like that in Fancy Town?
I don't know. Does she eat?
I don't know.
Can I have a smoothie and some wheat germ grass?
Goop juice?
Can I have some goop juice? But light. Just a light goop juice.
Just maybe a...
Just like a half a shot glass full of goop juice.
I don't know. That's asking a lot.
Okay.
Maybe.
Yeah. Let me gag for a second.
It's not obviously a new thought for me, but yeah, it is a new thought for me. It's not for fucking fix it.
It's okay. Strike that. Begin again.
God.
Okay. Okay, well, so for y'all though, that's not even English words.
I don't know. It kind of works around
Y'all
here.
though, that's my new catchphrase. Y'all though, listen. That's kind of funny. Okay, mark that for later. Yeah.